The views and opinions expressed on this program do not reflect the company, owners, management, staff, clients, or partners.
It's Thursday, the 23rd of March, 2023. Welcome to Bermuda's Daily Talk Show. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, and Lindos. I'm Jamel Hartman. He's Larry Marshall Jr. And Maya Palacio will be with us in a bit to bring you the latest in her news break brought to you by People's Pharmacy. My brother. Well, I mean, we would be able to hear you if,
Good morning, my brother. I'm sorry. I'm starting to act like certain people. Everyone call me.
I was going to say, I mean, if you were Sherry, that would be perfect. Let me start. We're starting off on the right foot. We're starting off on the right foot. But I'm not going to say when it is or how it is, but I just want to say that you're almost in the top 40 club.
Yes. It is my last day in my 30s.
Yeah. Oprah said when I was a child, right? I think Oprah was lying. But Oprah said, "Oh, life begins in 30s, life begins in 40s, life begins in 50s." I'm just like, well, I'll tell you what, Oprah weren't lying, because once you got to that 40 hill, things look so much better when you look back. Yeah.
So. Hey, as long as we're living, right?
Yeah, living healthy, living well.
Yes.
But we're going to make it a fun last day of your 30s today. Greetings, everyone. Thanks for making us part of your daily routine. A good one today as we welcome entrepreneur Kenten Trott onto the show. We're talking entrepreneurship. And if you follow Kenten on Twitter or you know him personally, you would know that his fight to be an entrepreneur is not just about him, but it's about the greater good. So really interested in having this conversation with him about his journey as an entrepreneur, some of the challenges, and just his path, how he chose what he is focused on. The Daily Play is a name that plays today. So very interesting one. I want to see if the audience can get this, because, we had a trick question the other day and someone in the room they fell for it. I'll just put it like that. They fell for it. I
was like, well, everybody knows Bermuda's not qualified for football, so it has to be cricket it's talking about.
Yeah, even though I mentioned football, but folks, some things happen. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe on our website, follow us on social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. We want to make sure we have enough time for this topic this morning, because it was very interesting, and even in our TDH WhatsApp chat group, there's differences of opinions on this, which I love. I love it when we disagree, because to me, I've said it on this show since the beginning. Through disagreement, we learn.
Yeah,
we truly learn, right? And I honestly, I know you're going to say, "Well, you just love to argue." I don't. I don't. I love to learn. And if let's use Larry and I. Larry and I have argued since before the beginning of time about whether English football is better than Italian football, Spanish football. Oh, he'll tell you. We've had those arguments for years, right? Honestly, all it did was make me actually watch Italian football and Spanish football more. Like, that's all it did. It really made me, you know what? Man, how is Athletic Bilbao coming to Manchester United, who is first place, and beating them like they are? And Brett would tell me, you would say, "Hartman, that's because you only watch English football. You don't know about the players."
Yeah,
right?
It's always about more learning and those types of things. So yeah, but definitely her for it.
And it comes down to, truthfully, we only know what we know. right?
Yes.
We only know what's before us. We only know our surroundings, most of us, until we grow beyond that. And so, I think we're going to have a difference of opinion on today's topic, but the whole point of it is not to necessarily agree. That's every day, but it's to actually learn. And so today, there was a very disturbing report in the Royal Gazette yesterday, and the title says, "Employers warned after reports of unfavorable behavior," right? So basically, it was focused on the Employment Act and the unfavorable behavior for live-in workers, right? So a spokesman for the Ministry of Economy and Labor said, quote, "Unfortunately, the ministry, through consultation with various stakeholders and queries received by the Labor Relations Section, is aware of allegations made regarding instances of precarious, exploitative working conditions of vulnerable live-in domestic employees. As such, and to remove all doubt, employers are advised that they cannot prevent their employees from," get this, stick with us, folks, because this is unbelievable. They cannot prevent their employees from leaving the employer's residence. Confiscating employees' travel documents is prohibited, and regular working hours must be defined in the employment contract. Did you hear what we just said? Question of the morning, because if I remember correctly, the Human Rights Act in Bermuda, 1981 or 80, whatever year it is, you all could correct me. I read something about Bermuda's Human Rights Act when it was written, and it was only written to protect Bermudians, not everyone in Bermuda, if I remember correctly. Something about this Employment Act almost comes across like this part, like it's only there to protect specific people, not all people. And regardless of how Bermudians feel about non-Bermudians in Bermuda working and so on, you've got to admit this is unconscionable behavior, if true. So the question of the morning for the audience, right? How can we ensure better working conditions for everyone in Bermuda? Notice, I didn't say Bermudians, because if you have a conscience and a heart, regardless of someone's origin, ethnicity, background, race, whatever, protected class they may be in, or maybe it's not a protected class, whatever class they may be in. Because let's be honest, protected classes are based on government and legislation. Last I checked, governments and legislation once allowed slavery to be legal, to keep things in context.
Yep.
But folks, that is disgusting, what I just said to you. People having their passports taken, not being allowed to leave. You still, although they may be live-ins, they're still employees. What can we do? How can we ensure better working conditions for everyone in Bermuda? Is it fair? Or first off, let's ask this question, Larry. Do you believe that this actually takes place in Bermuda? That's the first part. Do you believe that there are people, as explained in the Royal Gazette, right? Do you believe that there are people in Bermuda who are working under these conditions where employees are not letting them leave the residence? Do you believe there are people working in Bermuda who are having their travel documents confiscated by their employers? And do you believe there are people in Bermuda working beyond their regular working hours? Do you believe that this is true?
We're forced to work beyond the regular working hours.
Yeah. Do you believe that this is taking place in Bermuda?
Yes, 100%. And yeah, it's been going on for years. If you always hear certain stories, I know one particular person where they weren't live-ins, but the business owner had apartments on the property, and the guest workers were living on the property. And if they called in sick, They'll go through the proper channels, and once the owner find out they're sick, they'll go to the apartment, get them up, and then they'll be back to work. And the person was as sick as dog, you know what I mean? And it just wasn't fair. And of course, the Bermudian is speaking on this part, and I'm going back some 20 years when this was happening, you know what I mean? And I think it goes back to something we talked about the other day, whereas we have to protect the vulnerable. And some of these people are coming from some situations that may not be that good, and they're looking for a better life or whatever. The money's good here, and they're sending money back, however you want to look at it. And does exploitation take place? Yes. I
Mhm.
think things like this needs to be, it's an extra check and balance. And
Mhm.
if we put an extra check and balance in place to prevent any type of exploitation or abuse, then I'm all for it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, and that's valid. And I hate. I know you all think I compare everything to conscription, but if there's a comparison, I'm going to use it because that's something that I've experienced. But it's no different because what you were doing was you were taking people, right, and force putting them in an environment. Well, when you do that and something happens and they want to speak up, well, it's oh they just don't want to be here, right? You're, they're in a vulnerable state. And
Yes.
vulnerable people are the easiest to take advantage of, right?
Yeah.
So do you even believe it's true? Manuela John, she says, I believe that unfair practice has taken place for many years, but it has probably just come to be general knowledge. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I think we're living in an age now, especially a digital age, where people are more likely to speak up. And there's the technology to prove their claims. Marcus Arthur C. Phillips says, yes, I believe it. And Kenten Trott says, I 100% believe this is happening. Laverne Tucker says, yes, 100% believe this is happening. Folks, make sure you share this link because this is a conversation, especially that we all need to be tuned into because the one thing that we don't want to do is lose sight of the human element.
Yes.
We don't
And
want
to
to use that. Go ahead, Larry.
and to I think Bermudians credit, I think them it's a mixed group and Bermudians are involved. Bermudians I've seen has stood up for the foreigner. You know, I
Mhm,
think sometimes the these foreigners this, these foreigners that.
mhm,
But when they see exploitation taking place, they are the ones to stand up and say, no, that's not right. I think it becomes when they don't have that person that's able to advocate for them. And I think stuff like this
mhm.
can really be about it. I really just hope it has been done the right way and it's not a political tool or something that's to check the box. But like I said, I'm just in favor of the extra check and balance because it's needed. Checks and balances in any situation are a good thing.
Yeah. No, indeed, I concur. Folks, so now that we believe that this is actually happening, we believe it, right? All of us believe that what the government is saying, and if you're just tuned in, what we're speaking of is, as reported in the Royal Gazette, right? Allegations have been made. There's allegations that employees have pretty much not allowing live-in workers to leave the residence. They're apparently confiscating travel documents, which is prohibited. And they're supposed to define working hours. And it seems people allegedly are being worked over time, right? So through force, as Larry said earlier. So what are your thoughts? Like, how can we ensure better working conditions for everyone in Bermuda? Like, I think with bigger, larger organizations, there are the unions, right? Which are supposed to protect people. But with one-offs, if it's just some person that is living in and it's not a collective group is like do we need to have a group union for live-ins? Like, I mean, would they know about that? Like,
Yeah.
how can we better protect them, right?
I think some sort of regulation has to come in. I think we want to regulate anything. And I'm not saying, hey, sometimes I think we overcomplicate regulation or stipulations, however we want to put it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if we had someone that's going around checking in to make sure that certain things are in place, that's a step in the right direction. Will there be someone that will always try and take advantage? Yes. But
Mm-hmm.
we need someone there to hold them accountable. I think we talk about accountability a lot on the show, and that's all we're asking for in this instance. And if this is a step forward, then kudos to the government for doing this.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Mark Arthur C. Phillips, he says this is a perfect example of why it's always important to have accountability for business owners.
Yes.
A group union would be a great idea. Well, I think a group union sounds great. So, but how would you do that? Because if the staff they're bringing in don't know about it, would we have to say anyone who applies for a work permit to bring someone in has to ensure that the worker is signed up for this group or something? Like how would that look? Renee Simmons says it does take place, and the only way to stop it is to attach the individual contract with that work permit. A work permit should not be issued until that contract is reviewed and regulated by authorities. Sam kept place in Tanya Cheeseman, Bert?
Of course, this is happening. The problem is that money talks, so there will always be unscrupulous behavior taking place. Good point. Look at the work permit descriptions, and you will find where the problem starts. Tanya Cheeseman. At the end of the day, the workers will always feel some level of fear to speak up. Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah, well, at the end of the day, we know what happens to people who speak up, right? You're looking at one. People who speak up are usually the ones ostracized, right? They're the ones that are the troublemakers. They're the ones who get made redundant or fired, let go, whatever. They're the ones that will always find trouble, progress in their career. It's those who are pretenders or say nothing that usually go further. So I completely get your point about fear, Tanya Cheeseman.
Yes, and that's why I think a group union probably won't be in the best interest, because we're talking about the people that could be in a vulnerable position. They're not going to want to join for fear that the employers know that they're joining or be
Right.
frowned upon. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, they can still make life difficult, not illegal, but life difficult. So I think if you have regulatory in every other section, this you need someone to check in and say, hey, are you doing this? Are you doing that? And then speak to the people independently.
Yeah, indeed. I agree. Sean Smith says, because of fear, a lot of these employees do not report the situation to the labor relations office, which can help them. That to me is probably one of the most bothersome things, though. And again, everyone's situation is different. Yeah. Everyone's situation is different. Let's use entrepreneurship. We're talking about that with Kenten Trott and a few as well, folks. The reason I have this desire and this focus to succeed as an entrepreneur is because, I encourage the Daily Hour crew to watch this conversation with from Roland Martin on the Breakfast Club the other morning. And he really speaks to why I have this burning desire to succeed in this space and as an entrepreneur. And I would encourage anyone to watch it, especially in media. But the truth is, as long as no one else can control you, you have the ability to change things. Now, there's always going to be some level of control. For instance, there are going to be government legislation where you have to pay taxes and stuff like that. There's going to, right? So we need to have context to that. But this show, for instance, there's no one telling us what we can and can't talk about. We speak about things that you want to speak about as in the audience. When you give us feedback from the TDH community, and if you're not a member of the TDH community, then again, what are you waiting for? Because Roland Martin spoke about that as well, how people will support you and watch the show, but ask them to give $1 to you to keep it going. Yeah, I'm talking to some of you, but it's true. The only way we're going to be able to do this for you continuously is if you kind of financially get behind us. If not, the people who do the bad things to people like this, they're the ones that are going to control everything.
No pun intended.
I'm just saying, it's real. So, and I encourage people, and I'm thankful for you all who tune in religiously and give back. But like, seriously, if I asked you all to give $1 to us right now so that we can continue to have some unfiltered, straightforward conversations, many of you won't do it. But that's how it starts, with ensuring that we have our own. That's how change happens. That's how we ensure that better working conditions for everyone in Bermuda can happen. But truthfully, many of us talk about it, but we're not really about it.
Yeah. I concur with what you're saying. I think where it becomes people are easily able to separate it. It's not happening to me, and it's not, that type of thing. But I always say, if any type of abuse can happen here, or exploitation can happen here, what's stopping them from then going 2 feet over or 6 days later and doing it to you? And you're gonna want the whole world to go upside down to fight on your behalf. And at the end of the day, some of the people that you're gonna want to fight for in this state, they're not gonna stand for you. We already know that. But at the end of the day, you just want people to do the right thing, and everyone should be able to work in fair and legal conditions.
Well, your father used to always say this, and this was one of the greatest examples ever when it came to our fight with conscription. He says, they came for this group. We stood by and we did nothing. They came for this group. We stood by and did nothing. Finally, we were the only group left, and they came for us, and there was no one to help us.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you, in good conscience, allow bad things to happen to other people. What I want people to take from this, the only way we're going to ensure better working conditions for everyone in Bermuda is if all of us use our conscience. Like, just let our conscience be our guide. If you know someone who is treating somebody like this, say something.
Yeah.
If you know someone who's a victim of this, say something. If you know someone who is afraid and scared to lose their job, if they say something, be there to support them. There's no place for any of this in a small place like Bermuda. Tanya Cheeseman says, in fear of losing their job and being sent back home or more. Yes, as Larry mentioned earlier. Charles H. Jeffs II says, do we have people in positions of authority who look like many of the guest workers? For some of these guest workers, I would imagine there is a trust factor involved in the lack of reporting. Indeed.
Very good point. Very good point.
Indeed. This is a problem in our community, and I think I agree with Larry. If the government is taking a step toward eliminating this, I'm all for it. The fact that we need a guide to working in Bermuda, I mean, I think those things are helpful, but the fact that we have to reiterate it, it's a sad indictment on our community. Folks, if you appreciated this discussion this morning, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. We're going to bring Maya in for the Daily Hour news break. And after that, we have a conversation with Kenten Trott. He's a local entrepreneur in Bermuda. And we're going to have a conversation about entrepreneurship, which I think we all should tune into, because I think we all support entrepreneurs verbally, but financially, do we really? We're going to get into that after the news break. Stick with us. Good morning, Maya Palacio. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning. I didn't see my intro.
Oh, play it.
Oh, I must have missed it.
I'm having
I'm getting old, Maya, but you're not got an excuse. You know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
on the same device. I'm not on my regular device.
I weren't gonna say she was having a little technical difficulties on her end, but
I didn't realize there were different privileges as to how we come in.
Yeah. So look, we were talking about this sad situation which is happening in Bermuda right now. It seems with workers being treated poorly. That's what.
Yes. Yeah, it's not a new situation.
You're a journalist. You know of this stuff really happening?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
It's definitely not new. It's definitely not new. I've known family members and friends who've been treated so unfairly at work. I know people who didn't get paid for holiday pay when they've been working there for years, people who are afraid to take things to court. I know people who have taken things to court and won, which is great. It's a whole lot of situations where people aren't doing things right. But we all know this, like, I always say this with my friends, like, as much as, you might love some celebrities or whomever, and I don't want to say any names, but at the same time, the only way you could become a billionaire or someone is because you're really breaking the backs of people and making them do labor at such a low rate. Like,
you're going to make me go on my Facebook because I put a post up probably like 6-7 years ago and basically said that, like, if you're a billionaire, chances are you've exploited someone somewhere along the way.
Hundreds of people. There's no way it couldn't just be one.
Yeah, but that's why it's crazy to me how people laud billionaires, especially, and I'm gonna pick on the Black community. We praise Jay-Z and Sean Puffy Combs and everyone, and I'm just like, I appreciate you all you're happy to see a Black person in that space, but go read what anyone who's been on Bad Boy Records has had to say. Just go read some of this stuff. Folks, I'm not trying to degrade anyone who's made it financially, but simply, like we just said, just name a billionaire who's got to that status without exploiting somebody else.
Or even millionaire. Like,
yeah,
there's no way. Like, this is why we have so much disparities as to who's making how much and how people are being treated. It's disgusting how we live in this world. Like, it really is. And so when I see that, it's just like, can't do it. Like, even ordering Shein, I never order Shein. Like, I know some of my friends that do and stuff, I'm just like, I order from them one. It's that clothing store, we're talking about fast fashion, and what they pay and the treatment of the people who work in those facilities. Like, I cannot. Like, it just makes me feel so nasty. Honestly, like I even block influencers who pop up on my page, like Shein Ho, block. Like, I do not want to see that.
No, see, and again, it goes back to, like, bringing it right back into Bermuda, is we have to make decisions based on good conscience and remember, in all things, the human element.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, good morning, everyone. This is the Daily Hour Newsbreak brought to you by People's Pharmacy. And I did have my newsbreak starting out with exactly the conversation we're talking about this morning. So I'll just reiterate by saying that there is a guide, the How to Work in Bermuda guide, that if you do have or do feel like you're being mistreated by an employer, to definitely check that out and know your rights. Again, what we're discussing is the fact that the government has been hearing some allegations that are very serious and precarious that involve employers either telling their employees that they cannot prevent their employees from leaving the employer's residence, and that employers are not allowed to confiscate employees' travel documents, that is prohibited, and employers must define regular working hours in the employment contract. That is what's being said from the ministry, according to all these reports.
And those hours can't be 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, folks. Let's just be clear. When you say define, it's don't go.
Or forced pay at overtime, because they're like, well, if we pay them overtime, are they consenting to that?
Exactly. There's still laws within what you define.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Man.
Now, moving on to another statement coming from the ministry, this one having to do with security exercises. The senior government representatives from Bermuda, UK, and the US came together to work through how rapid assistance could be provided to Bermuda in the unlikely event of a severe incident. So participating with the Bermuda Bermuda Regiment, the Bermuda Police Service, and the Bermuda Fire and Rescue Service, and government department and agencies of their US and UK colleagues. So this happened on March 22nd. And basically they came together to kind of come up with solutions as to what will happen to Bermuda or what will happen in case of a severe incident. And the Ministry of National Security, Michael Weeks, said, the safety and security of the people of Bermuda is of the utmost importance, and it is comforting to know that should we need external support, both the UK and the US agencies are there for us.
I mean, I've always said Bermuda's too close to the US for the US not to kind of protect it. That's just personal feeling. Like they will ensure no one gets close to them in that regard. So
yes, as long as they still have companies and purposes inside of Bermuda.
Yeah,
of course. Well, next up, the stamp. The post office announced the release of a commemorative $35 stamp to mark the coronation of His Majesty King Charles III. Bermuda's stamp is the first to be issued within the Commonwealth or the overseas territories, and is the highest demonstration of any stamp depicting King Charles III to date. And you can actually purchase all these stamps at any single post office in Bermuda. And a reminder that May 8th is a public holiday to do with his coronation.
Hold on. Okay. I said $35 for a stamp.
$35 for your stamp.
Hold on, that's a dollar sign. That's a dollar sign. Hold on, ain't stamps like usually like 35 cents?
That's
Yes.
less than a ticket to watch Bermuda play.
Actually, I think stamps are way more now. I think stamps are like $1 something. I
Really?
feel like I sent off some mail the other day, and I was like, for a stamp? But I know things have gone up in price. But yeah.
Maya, you sent mail like the old fashioned way?
Yes, I was RSVPing to a wedding, Jamal, if you had to know.
You do that by ain't 30. Oh, okay. No, because that was my next question. I mean, somebody gonna pay $35 for a stamp. Is it a collector's thing, or do people still actually use the mail? Audience, let us know. Do you still use traditional mail? Because Maya's apparently acting Shara's age. But anyway, what else you got for us?
I thought it was very nice setting off some mail that way. Anyway, next up, Kavan Barcho and Ernest Signor were named Relay for Life 2023 Global Heroes of Hope. So coming from the Bermuda Cancer and Health Center, both were motivated to raise awareness of the importance of Relay for Life of Bermuda through their own experiences as cancer survivors. So congratulations to them.
Congratulations. Yes, for sure.
And last up on my news break for today, the Bermuda Youth Connect is to have their live on Instagram on Saturday, March 25th at 2 p.m. So right before the Bermuda football game. So with the OBA, Dwayne Robertson and Sophia Tessitore on the budget statement of 2023-2024. So it's going to basically break down why is the budget important and how do I read the budget and what is the budget debate.
How do you pronounce that? Tessitore?
Tessitore.
Yeah, I like her energy. I may not agree with her, but I like her energy. I think we would do very well with a lot more people with that kind of energy. Again, it's not about agreeing with her politically or her points, but we need more young people with that energy. Trust me, if you go on Twitter, you will see what I'm talking about, folks. So look, yeah, that should be a good conversation.
Okay. And I guess closing it out, I have the weather for you guys. So it's looking like a mix of sun and cloud today. Don't start, Marshall. Looking like a mix of sun and cloud today, and hopefully no rain. It did not report for rain. And we do have a high of 69. Now, as it comes for Saturday is still looking very good. So this is like a really good thing. It's going to be bright most of the day, and we have a high of like 72 degrees. So it's looking really good for Saturday too.
So what about tomorrow? Tomorrow's more important than all the days.
Friday?
Yeah, it's your teacher, Mr. Marshall's turning over that leaf. He's turning the big 40.
My bad, Marshall.
Come on now.
I'll check it out. I think it's a little rainy tomorrow.
Cloudy, showers, a bunch of rain. I can actually check that now, though. Let's see what's going to be for Marshall.
Should give him some sunshine.
Plenty of sunshine. Winds looking a little bit moderate, and we have a high of 71 degrees.
Just like me.
But Maya, it don't mean nothing anymore. You know why? Because I mean, once you turn 40, it ain't no parties for you, bros. Your part is over. You know,
I will be playing golf. That's my party.
All right, he'd be on the golf course. Look, hey, folks, if you're driving across wherever it's playing golf, all right. What's the activity here for us?
It's actually rather related. Today is World Meteorology Day. Have you ever wondered what makes the weather so unpredictable? Well, meteorology is the science that helps us understand and forecast it. It's like solving a puzzle with clouds, wind, and rain.
So I know people used to make fun of meteorologists saying, they have the easiest job, talking about 50% chance of rain and stuff like that. Right? I know people used to say that, but honestly, it is a science. Like, it's a science. Like,
your point is really good.
People used to say that. I think it changed in Bermuda when Larissa Abreu, when she was on Bermuda broadcast, and the guys became obsessed with her, and I think people started paying attention to the weather a bit more. So
I applied to be a weather forecaster one time, and they asked me a bunch of science questions and stuff like that, and I knew that it was involved like that, and meteorology is even more than that. So it was very interesting just to learn going through that process.
Oh yeah, right. Good on you, because I wouldn't have done it. Maya, you have a wonderful, happy Thursday. All right.
You guys too.
All right. My Palacio there, folks. All right. Stamps range in prices, Traveling Trotty says. And Charles, they announced a rate increase recently. Really interesting. We've got old school Headleen Stevenson Swan. I definitely still mail written letters and postcards. We ain't received one, Headleen. We ain't received no mail written letter or postcard. What's up with that? Charles H. Jefferson says, I love how Maya calls Larry Marshall. It's okay to call him Mr. Marshall. Just don't call me Mr. Jefferson. When they were at the sports awards the other night, I think we may have shared the picture on our social media. I was like, oh, look at teacher and student. Yeah. Hey, folks, stick with us. Don't go anywhere. We're going to take a quick break. Come back. Very great conversation coming up with Kenten Trott. We're talking entrepreneurship, folks. So I know we love these conversations. So this one should be just as good as all the others. Stick with us.
Let's face it, life can be a little wild, but shopping doesn't have to be. I choose People's, so that whether it's a prescription that needs to be filled, a toy for my little terror, or a gift for a new addition to the family, we'll see about that. Everything's available in one convenient location. Some call it People's, I call it my one-stop shop in the city. People's, we're here for you.
Welcome to the new bulk store, Lindo's Next Level. Wake up in the morning with enough coffee to keep you running throughout the entire day. Your pet at home deserves the best. Stock up on dog food to keep your puppy happy. Need a quick, tasty lunch at home? Your chicken nuggets will be jumping right out of the freezer. What's a movie night without popcorn? You can never have too much. Lindo's Next Level. Why go anyplace else?
Mom's celebrating her 70th birthday next month. Have you noticed her age is catching up with her?
Yeah. Plus, she's having a hard time getting up and around like she's used to. I would sure hate to see her fall.
At Medical House Limited, we can help make life situations easier. We have electric beds, motorized scooters, bath stools, walkers, you name it.
Mom's been real good to us. We'll get her birthday and Christmas gifts from Medical House.
Medical House has relocated next to the Dendy Town Field, number 6 Bakery Lane, Pembroke. Telephone 292-3622.
Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the big show. Larry Marshall Jr., myself, Jamel Hartman. It's the Daily Hour brought to you by Medical House, One Communications, Lindo's, and People's Pharmacy. Don't forget to subscribe on our website, thedailyhour.com, and follow us on all of our social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mics as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Without further ado, let's bring in our guest for the day. We've got good brother. He's also in the audience most days, Kenten Trott. Let's give him a warm TDH welcome, my friends.
Good morning.
Welcome, brother. How are you, man?
I'm wonderful. Good morning to the Daily Hour family. Good morning to the brothers. How's everybody doing today? I'm great.
Good, man.
Yes.
You know what? I'm just going to say what we were talking about backstage, right? I had put a tweet up last week, audience, and Kenten was one of the people I tagged in that tweet. And I said, hold on. Perry of the Girl of the Label, she's been on this show. Belvedere, right? He's been on this show. Daniel has been on the show to talk about the podcast that he does. Basically, everyone had been on the show except Kenten. And I'm like, no, we got to get the brother on because he's doing some great things. And I just think that, just from watching your Twitter, communicating with you, I think you're doing something that's actually probably inspiring other people on social media. And I really felt like a conversation on this show could help others who may be in similar spaces. So let's just jump right into it. Just tell us a bit about your entrepreneurial background and what inspired you to become an entrepreneur.
Yeah, well, to be honest, my dad and my brother are both entrepreneurs. I mean, my dad had a trucking business when I was a little boy. My brother has a very successful business now, doing a whole bunch of things: excavation, landscaping, car, everything. A mobile mechanic. My brother's the first mobile mechanic. So those guys really inspired me because I was able to see the freedom that they had and the reward that they got from it. And then I said, obviously I have a full-time career already. And I said, this is great, but this is not mine. I wanted something that was mine that I could say, you know what? I have children, I have a partner. I want to have something that's my legacy, not just that I'm done something for somebody else. So that kind of really what inspired me. And I say, you know what, and it's so amazing the feeling you get when you are an entrepreneur. I can't even describe it. You would know, Jamal, but you just can't describe how you feel when you can say that's something that I created, I crafted it, and I grew it to the places that now.
Indeed. No, honestly, it is a good feeling, and knowing that in the process, you're giving yourself a sense of freedom, and you're being an asset to your family. What kind of business do you own? For those who don't know, and how do you decide on focusing on the specific areas that you do?
Well, as with anything, it's ever evolving. So it actually started off as secure trucking. So I just bought a truck, bought a permit, got everything registered, started the business, and went from there. And then it just grew because I'd always been a tradesman in a sense. When I say tradesman, meaning I always like to do things out in the field, work with my hands and stuff like that. So, I had everybody's dream job because I was head boy at Berkeley, I was valedictorian, and I left with scholarships coming out of the yin yang. I had, I was working in one damn business down at Pitts Bay, and it just wasn't for me. I just didn't enjoy it. So I left that. I did a whole bunch of things. I did construction. I worked as, I was thinking about being a teacher like Brother Larry. I did a whole bunch of things. And then I ended up doing the career I'm doing now. But I always kept my qualifications. I'm a certified tiler. I always did things with my hands. I renovated my house myself and stuff like that. So I've always wanted to do things. So I decided on the trucking because that's what my daddy did. So as a little boy, my daddy was a trucker. So I said, you know what? Let me give it a shot. My brother does it as well. So that's one of the things I say, you know what, let me give it a shot. And then it just evolved from there because I always want to assist my customers. So I had a job one day, and one of my customers was like, oh, you anybody that does floors? I said, well, I used to be a tiler, haven't done it in a little while, but I could do it. So I started doing flooring again and fell back in love with that. So it kind of just evolved to what it is now, where I do a lot of property management. And one of the things I kind of fell into, and we'll probably talk about it later as well, is the waste management, because it's something that I realized is a need. I didn't realize we had so much waste in Bermuda until I started doing trucking. And then I realized that, there were, I've told a story before, if you follow me on Twitter, I've told a story before of how I was, a couple of years ago, I was taking out my trash, and my trash can fell. I hit a rock or something, and the trash can fell, and a rat came running out at me. I said, I ain't never seen rats running in my life. That inspired me to say, you know what, let me look into what's going on. And obviously, it's not a government thing. So I don't want people it's nothing to do with the government. It's just how things are, and how waste has to be properly managed to keep rodents and insects down. And I don't think we really understand the gravity of it until I really started doing my research. So that's kind of how it evolved into the waste management, and then just total property services, taking care of your pressure washing. I'm introducing a new thing called soft washing. I'm also introducing trash can cleaning, because that's one of the aspects that I've learned about waste management. If you keep things clean and sanitary, it's less likely to get rodent and insects. So a lot of things that are kind of, it's ever evolving. So I don't like.
You literally just gave a lesson in entrepreneurship that you may start here, but there are other opportunities, and the world's changing. And I just want to correct something, folks, because when I say this is Kenten's first time, it's not his first time on Daily Hour. Let me be clear. First time specifically talking about what I tagged him in about entrepreneurship. So I just want to be clear about that for people who may say, no, he was on the show a couple years ago. No, we're talking specifically. He's the only one that hasn't been on to speak about entrepreneurship, specifically about what we're talking about. So I just want to be clear for, we have, you're one of them, Kenten, in the audience. You're very attentive. We have a very attentive.
Yes.
I didn't have to come on before. But this is the first time. So thank you on short notice for coming. Go ahead, Larry.
Of course.
I know when I started training people on this side, I came up with some challenges. You have to navigate through certain things. So what are some of the challenges that you faced as an entrepreneur?
I would say one of the challenges is just understanding how to actually start a business. Thank God for my mom. My mom did it before. My mom does it all the time. She did it for other people. She manages my brother's accounts and affairs. So luckily I had a source that I could go to say, hey, mama, I need this. And what do I have to do? because, and also the BDC helped a bit as well. So just actually starting a business and making sure you're registered and you have the correct permits and you have the correct permissions and different things. You don't realize how much it is until you really get involved. And making sure that obviously you don't want to fall afoul of the law. You don't want to get in anybody's bare book. So just making sure you got everything, all your T's crossed and all your I's dotted, so that you can have a successful business. Because, you know, as we mentioned earlier, you're going to be regulated. It's normal. It has to happen. You have to have some form of regulation, but you just have to make sure you're doing everything you have to do so that you can have a successful business and not encounter any additional obstacles because you don't have something that you need.
I just want to follow up on that, Larry, because I think a lot of people, again, just listening to Roland Martin the other day on the Breakfast Club, like speaking of, you know, specifically, he was speaking about Black businesses and, you know, how only 90-something% of Black businesses, most of them are sole proprietors, meaning they don't have employ people, which overall impacts, you know, the economy for Black people. But you touched on something that I really try to encourage people to do. The first thing that, like, when we started our company, a friend of mine said, get a lawyer and register the company, right? Now, I knew you're supposed to do this stuff in terms of, you know, just going to school and so on. But I think a lot of people think it's as simple as having an idea and just charging people money for it, right? Mm-hmm. There's processes and it can be difficult. It can be difficult. There's hoops, right? There could be red tape and depending on industry, right? But I tell you what, once you get through that stuff, folks, it's all on you.
Yeah.
Don't be discouraged. If I know it's hard for some people depending on industry. I know it's hard. You've got people who've had business ideas and, you know, there's red tape. They have to wait on this or get approved by parks or planning or whatever. But I'm telling you, you know, from my own experience, if you can see it through, if you can get through it, you'll be okay.
Yeah, 100% agree. And a lot of times we almost feel like it's a big bad wolf. Oh yeah, the system doesn't want me to succeed. But there are measures in place. Like, you know, when I came up with a few obstacles or was, you know, didn't understand a few things, I went to various departments. I spoke to people, you know, kudos to the Premier Honorable David Brett, kudos to the Ministry of Public Works, kudos even done at TCD. Like, they are very helpful in kind of getting you to understand, okay, this is what you have to do. This is what it is. This is because sometimes it's not just like when you open up a business, it's not a manual to say, okay, you want to open a trucking business. This is everything you have to do. That's not how it works. The BDC is there to guide you and assist you, but sometimes stuff is such a niche business that they don't have a playbook for it. So getting that assist, talking to people, getting them to say, okay, yeah, I need this, I need that, I don't need that. Okay, maybe I have to do this. And like you said, having that support, and that's the next step for me, because as you said, it starts off as a sole proprietorship. So I started off saying, yeah, you know, just be me, make a couple of extra dollars, help support my family, you know, give my children something to look forward to in the future if they want to take it over from me. But now, you know, I'm starting to hire people. I'm starting to have part-time employees. It's growing more than just me, you know, going out doing a couple of things on the weekend or after I knock off from my regular job. So I think that is a next logical step to make sure that I have, you know, I've sought legal advice already on certain things, but actually to create it as a corporation or as a limited liability company, or to kind of, as it grows, you learn it. You wouldn't know these things until you're actually in it. Yeah. So that's one of the things. So it's always going to be obstacles, but overcoming them is something that I actually thrive on, because every time you overcome something, you learn, okay, I won't do that again, or maybe I'll do it differently next time.
Yeah. It's quite interesting because we often hear about the obstacles or the reasons why you should not, instead of the reasons why you should. But what has entrepreneurship done to improve your life?
It's just amazing because, like I said, the freedom that you feel and how you can grow your business and people, you know, I'll be going somewhere, hey, yo, you're that trash guy, innit? And it's just funny how I'm no longer what I used, because I used to be defined by my career that I have now. But now this is something that's mine. Hey, yo, you still do X, Y, and Z? I say, yeah, man, I still do it. All right, look, I'm going to give you a call. So I think it has improved my life because it gives me something else to do. So I don't have to depend on anybody else. Because obviously in my job, I have to depend on my employer to pay me. With my entrepreneurship business, I depend on myself. So if I want to work all day and do 10 jobs a day, I could do it. If I want to do 2 jobs a day because I have something to do, then I can do that as well. So it just it just has given me the freedom, and also my children are learning about it as well. I have my daughter, she loves going with me. So sometimes she'll come with me and help me do a job. She even has her own little book. My dad got her book, so she writes down the job. She writes down how much I owe her because I have to pay her. Trust and believe, I have to pay her. So she writes it down. So that is also a reward to see that she understands the business at 6 years old. You know what I mean? So and then my son, he's overseas right now, but when he was helping me out. He was saying, "All right, Daddy, don't forget, I need my money. Oh yeah, you owe me this amount." And you know, it's just amazing to see that I'm passing that on to them, because that's the one thing that I wish I would have did differently. It started at a younger age, because obviously as you're older, you're less inclined to take risk because you have, I've got a mortgage, I've got vehicles, I've got a family, I've got responsibilities. So you can't just say, if I don't make no money today, is cool, because hey, sometimes you won't make a single penny, but sometimes you'll make a lot of money. So it's just the what I wish I would have did differently is started at a younger age, because then it could have been full time by now. Not to say that it won't happen in the future, but that's my one bit of encouragement. Start as early as you can, and if you have an idea, go for it. If you fail in that idea, try something else. If you fail in that idea, try something else. So that'll be my takeaway.
I mean, it's like it's what most entrepreneurs do. I mean, people forget, everyone's got an Apple product. I swear, like 90% of people have either a phone, iPad, computer.
Something.
But what they forget is the great man who brought you that, Steve Jobs, was actually fired from his own company at one point, right? We forget, like, I've had 2 failed businesses over 12 years ago with one of Bermuda's most successful entrepreneurs. We had, I say failed, not that we lost, it's that we just didn't get what we wanted out of them. So you're gonna fail. I mean, Craig Simmons said on this show that 90% of entrepreneurs will fail. But that doesn't mean you stop and give up. If you have a desire to be an entrepreneur and a desire to be successful, then you keep going. It may cost you, but entrepreneurship's nothing without risk. Nothing.
Yeah. And it's quite timely, I think, this conversation, because he's not saying it. Jamal is on me all the time about getting my this ready and doing all this stuff, because my business is kind of on a little standstill right now. Shift work's killing me, I'll be honest. But you still have to find a way to make it grow, to make it work and stuff like that. So you just touched briefly about what you would, how to encourage people, but what advice would you give to those considering entrepreneurship? Because we need these types of encouraging stories for people like when I started, or somebody else who's thinking about starting.
My biggest bit of encouragement and advice for them is to do your research. I get teased all the time by my family, loved ones, my woman. Everybody's always saying, "Why are you always looking at that? The only thing you look at, why are you looking at trash trucks again? Why are you looking at it?" But you have to do your research, because that way you would know, and also do your market research to know if that need is provided in Bermuda, or if it's a need for what you're going to do in Bermuda. So, for example, you might want to say, okay, cool, I'm going to start a water truck business, but you can only purchase a water truck from somebody else because it's a moratorium on the sale of water truck permit. So you can't go down TCD and buy another permit. You have to buy it from somebody already there. So you have to kind of do your research to understand that what you're going to provide and how you're going to provide it to people. And then just follow the necessary steps, because the last thing you want to do is start a business. Like, for example, food service businesses. There is so many things that you need, even starting a food cart. Spoke to a few people about, and you need 2 sinks and you need this. This has to be a certain distance from that. And you wouldn't know that. So make sure you do your research. Make sure you follow all the procedures and get any permits or applications or approvals that are necessary in order to go forward. Because what you don't want is you have this great idea and it never gets off the ground because you haven't done your research and you don't have the necessary approvals.
Yeah. This question from the audience, and I think Larry kind of touched on it just now in what he was saying. He said it people, you may not have heard him because he was very subtle, but it's something that you deal with as well, I'm sure, Kenten. Larry mentioned shift work. And so this question from the audience, Sean Smith says, Chief, how are you avoiding burnout juggling your full-time job as well as your business? Because I think that's what Larry, you were pretty much saying in no such words, that it's kind of hard because you got your family, you got your shift work. Like, how do you manage that?
That's why I started to get more employees. So originally they started my dad and I. My dad and I, that was it. But then obviously if somebody needed a truck tomorrow, I have to work my regular job. So, or if somebody needed something done tomorrow, if somebody needed something collected, somebody needed something pressure washed. So that's where you have to learn to start delegating. And that's another thing I learned as well, is that you can have the best business idea, but you can't do it all yourself. You mentioned Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs can't make every Apple product himself. He can't literally be in the factory making it. He has to entrust people to do it for him. So that's where that balance comes in. So you can get it off the ground, you can get it running, you can establish it, but then you have to have a team of people, because without a team of people, you will always just be a sole proprietor, and it'll never go to anything greater than just being a sole proprietorship. So that's where it kind of is. And sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's late nights and early mornings. And, you know, I've had requests that, hey, listen, I'm doing this. And, you know, can you, you know, I could only get it done at 2 o'clock in the morning. So is that okay? I say, yes, ma'am. It's okay. I'll be there at 2 o'clock. I'll be there at 1:55 actually.
Wow.
So it takes, you know, juggling and it takes some sacrifice, but you have to, if that's what you want, you have to get there. Like, you know, when people are in university, when people are studying, when people are getting degrees, some people are doing degrees and working a full-time job. So you just have to strike that balance and get the support. So luckily I have a good support system and a good support team. So
indeed.
That's how to get it done.
Mark Arthur C. Phillips, he's asking, congrats, so proud of you. How hard is it for you to manage your resources, finances, and assets such as vehicles and trucks?
Yeah, well, that's one thing and that's why you have to, as I said, do your research. And you know what I mean? Sometimes, like one time I blew out a tire, $200 for a new tire. That wasn't considered that month, but luckily I've learned to always have a reserve fund, and you build that into your pricing. I think a lot of times what people don't do is reinvest in the business. So I've learned from very early that, hey, you know what? I'm going to make hardly any money. No money comes to me. Everything is going to get reinvested back into the business. And you start building up the business account so that when you have this incidents, when you, my clutch, something went with my clutch the other day, and that was like a $700 job. And I had the money. All right, cool, no problem. Look, let me pay that and keep the business rolling. Because if not, your assets is what makes you my pressure washer. Make sure to keep that, you know, do maintenance on that and make sure that's up and running. Because if I'm in the middle of a job and it breaks down, that's problems. So you have to make sure to continue to reinvest in the business and always have that quote unquote rainy day fund in order to deal with things that may come up. Because especially if you got equipment, like you said, some businesses don't have any equipment. Like if you're doing personal training, you don't have any equipment. You have it's yourself. You might have, you know, some small things, but with me, you know, my equipment's are $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 pieces of equipment. So it's just making sure to reinvest in the business. And as I said, do your research so that you can calculate the correct price.
Before we go back to the audience, I want to just kind of, you spoke the story of how your father and brother were entrepreneurs in their own right, and how that kind of trickled down. And it doesn't mean that, you know, you need parents or someone in your family to be an entrepreneur, and that doesn't mean that if you have parents or family members who are, necessarily you're going to be one. But it definitely is a great barometer. Like, it's a good foundation. For me personally, you know, all of my uncles, my father, you know, they always, as far as I knew, my father always asked me, oh yeah, remember when I worked it? I'm like, bro, I was like 2-3 years old. I don't remember you working for anybody in my life. All I know is you working for yourself. Like, seriously, he said it to me all the time. Daddy, I only remember you having your own company. But then my uncles, you know, from construction, and that was passed on from my grandfather. But I bring that up because I want to ask you, just honestly, you have children. What are your expectations of them when it comes to carrying on a business? Because I think I was never felt pressured. I was never pressured to go into certain spaces or carry on. But what we always speak about legacies, leaving something for some people. How do you want them to see entrepreneurship and your business as you know, fade out over years?
I want them to see it as an option if they want it. Like, as you said, nobody never pressured me to do anything. My family always supportive in whatever I did. When I told them I was dropping out of college, of course, they took a pause, they took a breath and said, okay, we'll support you, whatever you want to do. So I want them to have it as an option, but I also want to show them the benefits of it. So sometimes I could tell them, oh yeah, you should go be an entrepreneur. But if I'm not doing it myself, how can I tell them go ahead and do it. So I think I want that to be an option for them, and they can see the benefits of it. So, as I start to get older and want to retire, because I have a plan to retire at a certain age. So when I'm ready to retire, I'm going to say, listen, this is yours if you want it. If you want to sell it and do something else, fine. If you want Daddy to keep it, fine. But at least give them an option to say, and that they can see the benefits of it. Because I saw it from a very young age, how there are benefits to entrepreneurship. So I think that's the really important thing, is to have our people understand that entrepreneurship is actually the key to freedom. And entrepreneurship it's self-empowerment. So that's a really big thing that is really important. Without entrepreneurship, the world wouldn't run at all.
Yeah, indeed. Maya Palacio, she's asking, Kenten, how long did it take for this business to be operational? How many behind the scene days, months, etc. did it take?
Okay. I actually, of all times, I started my business in 2019, in September/October 2019. And what happened in late 2019, early 2020? COVID hit. So I was literally one of those people that, fortunately, because of the business I had, because I had a truck, and it was considered essential in some regards because of some of the stuff that I was delivering. It kind of was able to keep me going, if that was, because I know a lot of businesses were unfortunately had to close down during COVID. So I think that was one of the things that really kind of assisted me, was the type of business I was doing. So I would say from 2019, and then that's when I first bought the truck and got the permit, and it took a few months to get everything sorted. So by March of 2020, I was up and running, which was obviously the peak of COVID, but it was still up and running. So I would say about 6 months or so. But prior to that, I had been doing research for years and years and years on what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. Should I do this? Should I do that? So yeah, so I would say probably about 6 months or so.
And I'll say it's interesting because I believe research, especially in a small market, is so important. It really is, right? But Steve Jobs was very different. Remember Steve Jobs? Steve Jobs didn't believe in research. He didn't believe in asking people what they want. Yeah. He actually, his business model was, if I asked people if they wanted an iPod, they would be like, what is that? You're crazy.
Right.
He didn't ask you. He built something and told you, you want this because it's more convenient for you. But again, he was global. He was on a global scale. In a small market, folks, do not, and I can't, you'll get me, but don't just start a business because you're passionate about something. Passion's important.
Yeah.
But people are not going to buy into something just because you have a passion for something. If there's a need for it, right? If there's a need for something, they're more likely to buy into it rather than you just being passionate about it. Kenten, let's wrap it up. Just tell people how they can get in contact with you. And I'm telling you now, many people need your services.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have a website, www.securebda.com. You can call me on the phone, 333-2345. Easy to remember. Follow me on Twitter. Everything is Secure BDA. So SECURE BDA. That's the Twitter handle, Facebook, Instagram, all of that. So many options and you can even email info@securebda.com.
My brother, thank you so much. I really appreciated this conversation.
Thank you guys as well.
Entrepreneurship is, honestly, it tugs at my heart. It's a conversation that I think we need more of. And your story is inspirational. Folks, make sure you follow, support. Kenten, have a wonderful day, my brother.
Yes, thank you guys well. Have a great day, everybody. See you guys later. Cool.
Folks, if you appreciated that conversation with Kenten Trott, please give us a thumbs up, a love, a like. That was an inspirational story. We're going to come back and speak more about that. So don't go anywhere. And we've got the Daily Play as well. Stick with us, please.
Hi, welcome to ER Fisheries. I'm Jalen Steed, store manager and trained chef, and I'm here to help you with all of your food needs. Let's talk about why you should come and check out ER Fisheries. We offer the widest range of specialty meats and seafood items at a price point that will absolutely fit your budget. As a chef, I'm able to answer all of your food questions, help you come up with meal ideas, and generally guide you in the right direction. You'll get a custom shopping experience unlike any other food store in Bermuda, where we'll cater to your needs and provide you with excellent customer service. Where else can you get quality cooking advice and quality products? I look forward to helping you with all your meal ideas.
A lot happens around your home. That is why at One Communications we have introduced affordable security and video monitoring, because everyone should be able to afford to protect their family. Anytime, from anywhere, One Home Security keeps you connected and puts security in your hands with an easy-to-use smartphone app to control everything. Home security is important to keep you and your family safe. Motion-activated cameras around your home and security monitoring within create a complete security system providing protection both inside and outside your home. Professional monitoring means that there's someone on call with 24/7 protection to notify the authorities and help keep you and your loved ones safe. We are dedicated to whole home protection with indoor and outdoor cameras, smart door locks, motion sensors, and more, so you'll always be connected to what matters most. With professional installation, no upfront hardware fees, and low monthly rates, because keeping your family safe should be affordable for everyone. Total home video monitoring and security, there's no better way to protect your home than with One Home Security.
Hi, my name is Debbie Jones Hunter. Join me and other 50-plus-year-olders as we hit the track for some friendly competition at the Move More Bermuda Senior Games, Saturday, May 20th at 12 p.m. You ask where? At the Flora Duffy National Sports Center. The fee is only $10 to enter, and the first 100 people to register will receive a free gift bag. Register today at Trekkie. That is TRACKIE.com for the Move More Bermuda Senior Games, Saturday, May 20th. Ask about the free training sessions. Yes, we have free training sessions. I look forward to seeing you all there.
All right, welcome back. Thanks again to Kenten Trott. Folks, again, give us a thumbs up, a love, a like if you appreciated that conversation. Thanks again to One Communications, People's Pharmacy, Medical House, and Lenders for ensuring we can have these kind of conversations on a daily basis. It's time for the Daily Play, brought to you by Bermuda Trivia, now available at stores throughout Bermuda. Follow Bermuda Trivia on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok to find out why it's Bermuda's favorite trivia game. Larry, are you ready?
I'm ready, sir.
Audience, he might need your help. If someone in the audience gets this right, before the buzzer and before Larry, we may give you a special prize. All right, here we go. What is the longest river in Africa?
Nile.
Bang! He got it. He didn't give you all a chance, and I think he is playing with me, right? Because he said, "Let me get it." He's trying to play with me. He's trying to play with me, right? The arrogance of these people, you all.
To be honest, I was like, is it denial? No, it's not denial. Let me think. And it's all right. Well, let's go denial.
And got Nile. Everybody got Nile. Everybody, but he beat you to it, folks. No prize today, but yeah, it is the Nile River. The Nile is the longest river in Africa. The Nile runs through or along the border of 10 other African countries, namely Burundi, Tanzania, Rwanda, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Uganda, Sudan, Ethiopia, and South Sudan. So it is the longest river. It's an argument whether it's the longest river in the world, and then people say no, the Amazon River is longer. So yeah, there we go. That's your daily play for the day. Let's wrap it up. We're over time, but final thoughts on this morning's discussion regarding the protection of Bermudian workers, and then obviously the entrepreneurship conversation with Kenten Trott.
The protection of workers, like we said, I'm here for the checks and balances. We want everyone to be treated fairly, and we also wanted, to include also the employers. You know what I mean? Like they have to. I didn't think that was kind of touched on, but we just have to kind of make sure that people are not being exploited in Bermuda, because if it happens to them, it can easily happen to us. With Brother Kenten and Secure, I was very proud of knowing Kenten a long time, and he actually helped to inspire me. I had some things going around in my head and what I can do better, and he talked about a time. So I might not be active right now, but I could still be working on the business. So I think we definitely need these conversations to kind of help inspire, because as he said, entrepreneurship is a way to a level of freedom.
Yeah. I want to say in regards to protecting, making sure Bermudian workers in Bermuda are protected. I just think through everything we do, and I say this over and over, we need to remember the human element.
Yes.
At the end of the day, regardless of what someone's societal class, no one deserves to be treated less than. And so if you know someone who's treating someone like this, or know someone who is being treated like this, or someone who's treating someone like this, I think it's in our best interest to speak up, because we wouldn't want that to happen to one of our loved ones. In reference to Kenten Trott, there were lessons. I've been an entrepreneur for quite a while. First go was in 2010. But he said a lot of things that I hope people, really take away from it. Reinvesting in your business. Folks, reinvesting in your business. You can't just go into business and think, oh, okay, you're good for 10 years. Things change. Remember that word he mentioned, evolve. You've got to evolve. Also, you may go into business with one idea, and it evolves into another idea and another idea. You may start a business. Larry, it's just you right now. You may actually bring more coaches on, because you realize, you know what, this is a need. Let me bring someone else on. They may be bringing them on as a business partner, not just an employer or a contractor. Folks, we've got to start from somewhere. And if there's a journey that you can look at to understand that, it would be Kenten Trott. So again, wishing him all the best with his business. And I really hope folks take something from that. And most of all, support his business.
Yeah.
Support it. We need more people in our community supporting entrepreneurs, especially as they're new and on a smaller scale. And most of all, because you need their services. Any daily inspiration for us today, Bert?
Yes, we have the daily inspiration proudly presented by ER Fishers. You make your mistakes. Mistakes don't make you. Anonymous.
Man, you hear that, folks? Mistakes don't make you. They don't.
And you are going to make mistakes.
Oh yeah, especially as an entrepreneur, you may fail, but you
As an
don't.
athlete, in life, as a parent.
Yeah, don't bring up this D's and a couple of F's, but no, I didn't got an F in college. No. Anyway, but you get the point. It's not about me. I just want to real quickly. Renee Simmons thought that was easy, denial, and then Maya said that not me yelling at the TV, denial, Marshall. I could hear it now because I was too busy to type LOL.
Don't worry, I had it covered. It's still good as a yes. Marshall got it again.
All right, before we head out, real quickly, folks, before we head out, can everyone in the audience please type happy 40th birthday, Larry Marshall Jr. And so before you go, you're gonna tell us what's your birthday wish as you hit 40 years old tomorrow.
My birthday wish, I must just say, is for me to be able to give more for my family and to be a better father, better husband, and just go forward trying to go for them. That's always what's on my mind these days.
I'll say this, man. You're a great man, and I'm proud to call you friend. And and I, not to be all crazy, but the amount of people you and I know who didn't make it to 40 years old, it's an accomplishment as a black man. And it's not just making it to 40, as a human being, but to have accomplished some of the things that you've done. So I'm wishing you the very best birthday and many more years of health, happiness, and family.
Yes, thank you, my brother.
No problem.
Thank you, everyone, for the well wishes.
Yeah, they're showing you love. They're showing you love. Chances are, everyone wishing you happy birthday is already past 40, probably. I mean, some of them. So they're probably going to tell you how great your 40s are. Hey, man, enjoy it.
Yes, we'll do. I plan on it.
Yeah. You didn't invite me to golf, even though it wouldn't turn out well. But we'll leave that alone.
We'll do it in Florida.
All right, there we go. There we go. Folks, don't forget to subscribe on our website and follow us on social media channels to stay up to date with all that we have going on. Help us grow beyond the mic as we do our part to continue to improve our community. Thanks again to our partners, Medical House, One Communications, Lindos, and People's Pharmacy for ensuring that we're able to do this with you on a daily basis. As always, we appreciate you, we love you, and we thank you for making us part of your daily routine. If all goes well, we'll be back to do this again one more time this week tomorrow. Peace. We're out.